Hello, Andrea.
Hello, Eric.
I saw that the Tecton cat was in the meeting for a few seconds when I joined. Was that you?
Yeah, it was me. Sorry, I was logged in the browser with the wrong account. Hello. Hello, Emil and Matthias.
Hello.
Okay. So let's see. 1 minute past.
Hi there.
Yo.
Should I share my screen maybe? See if Jamie joins from Fidelity. I hope so. Should we get started with actions maybe?
Sounds good.
The first action was on Kara and Oleg on the online meetup, but there is a doodle poll that everyone should answer on. Have you done so?
Yeah.
Andrea, Ek, Emil, Tracy, Sean, Oleg. Steve, if you're able to answer, it would be great. And Matthias.
Yeah, I
Kevin,
missed that
welcome.
one.
I haven't really answered because I thought I was just joining in.
So you still hear me, don't you?
Yes.
You hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I don't hear you. Why don't I hear you? Oh, sorry. Now it might be better.
Yes, let's try.
Eric, say something.
Yes,
No,
I am talking and talking.
strange. Oh, I'm sorry. I have to change my speaker.
So on the right side of the screen, you could see Swedish Candy for a few seconds before it disappeared. So in the commercials.
Swedish candy.
Ah, there was Swedish Candy on the screen for a few seconds next to the doodle.
Oh.
Local
Oh, I see. I see.
Or no, food delivery company, I guess.
Okay, so yeah, please answer the doodle poll, and I guess we'll define the dates then. Going on, Kara is still not here about the contributor summit, but there was a form to be filled in, and then Andrea created a related form, which I responded to apparently, but the rest of you might not have. Andrea, will you say what the form is about?
Yes, let me send you the other link. The form is about basically assessing how many of us would be interested in joining, whether in person or remotely, to a SIG Events Contributor Summit, co-located to CityCon 22 in Austin, and also gathering some ideas about what we would like to see it happening at the summit. And I need this information basically to fill in the other form from Kara, which is basically about requesting resources for this summit. So we need to get kind of a rough idea how many people we expect to be there in person or remotely, so that they can organize for a room or equipment for people to connect to the summit. So please, the deadline, I think, for the other form, for Kara's form, is the 28th of February. So if you could answer to my form, maybe a few days earlier than that, then I can gather all the information and fill in the other forms. And for the record, we got four answers so far, 50-50, saying in person or remotely. And some...
Good.
I actually have a bit of news on this. Everything is all set. Is this the contributor summit at CDCon? Okay, great.
Yeah.
Excellent. Thank you. Perfect. No news on that. I have news on the KubeCon one, but
yeah, this is the CDCon contributor summit.
Yeah, great. Thank you.
Okay, moving on. The PR document, it's also further down below as a link, but we can have it here. We talked about that we should provide quotes from our companies, and Eric agreed to provide a quote from DoWhile, and I believe Oleg also agreed to have a quote from Trace and others.
And I think you should have one from Deploy Hub. From Tracy.
Yeah, there is one from Deploy Hub. Yeah, it is. Let's see. So we have one from Deploy Hub already. We have one from Ericsson, and then we lack the rest.
Scroll down. Was there one from JFrog?
These are the examples. So this should not be kept in the document, I believe. These are just examples, just for inspiration, I guess.
Yes, you can take them out now. I mean, it was just examples.
Let
So
me
take them out,
yeah.
Confusion.
I'm going to be talking to the JFrog folks later today, so I'll ask them.
Great. Yeah, good comment, Kara. So there's no confusion on those quotes. I don't know if there is any deadline for this document itself. We also have quite a lot of comments from various people, mostly Andreas and Matthias, I believe, in the document, which we need to sort out before releasing it, of course. Does anyone know when we are supposed to have this done? Maybe Kara knows.
Well, it's actually a pretty flexible schedule depending on how CD event is evolving. So it also depends if you all would like to time this with, say, a contributor summit at one of the conferences, or if you want to ensure you have some SDKs really up. It just depends on how you would like the cadence that you're most comfortable with and what you want in place before we kind of do more of a push. For quotes for an additional companies, given that companies like Google are really involved in Tecton, maybe we could ask someone there for a quote. Do you think that's possible? Andrea, since you're very involved.
Yeah, sure, I can try.
Okay.
I'm still parsing. Yeah, I'm still trying to get someone from Red Hat or IBM, but yeah, I'll follow up there as well.
Okay. Thank you. I might ask Mauricio Salentino, because he's been really, he's said some really supportive things about CD events. He's really involved with cloud events, and that might be a good person as well, or he might know someone at VMware.
Mauricio, you mean? Or
Yes, yes. Has he already? Is that what you're looking at, Andre?
No, there's no such quote yet.
no, I don't think so.
No. Okay, I didn't think so. Okay.
Yeah, so I think he's a Dynatrace now with like Oleg.
Is he? Okay.
No, it's not Dynatrace, is he?
I thought he was like
Mm, I
VMware.
thought he was like
VMware.
Argo.
I think it's VMware, but we'll go find out.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Yeah, so we talked last about the budget a bit. We have this 10K budget that we could maybe get part of. And Kara, you're supposed to check if we can have if there are any possibilities from the Linux Foundation to get a marketing clip for CD events.
Tentative, yes. As in this is something we do, so we should be able to do it, and we have no other asks for them. So I think this is an acceptable part of our marketing budget spend. But how
So
would
what-
you?
Yeah.
How do you want? What do you want to do in your clip?
Oh. Whatever sells us. Whatever sells the project.
Okay, I guess I'll ask them what they think and then come back to you all.
Great. So let's see, we still don't have Jamie here from Fidelity. Okay, so then we need to skip the presentation for now. If he joins late in the meeting, we can bring him in. Then we move on.
I was wondering, Emil, Jamie's not here. I saw Kevin joined us. Was wondering if he maybe give him some chance to introduce himself.
Of course.
Sure, I'd love to. Hi, everybody. My name is Kevin Chu. I work as a product manager at GitLab. I became aware of the CDF Event SIG fairly recently, and I think it's super interesting to create interoperability between CI/CD systems and GitLab being exactly that. I wanted to learn more about what you're doing, what you plan to do, and figure out how I can contribute. That's about it. Any thoughts or questions?
Great. Perfect. You're very welcome from GitLab as well. I don't think we have had anyone from GitLab before in the group, have we?
I don't think so.
Great to have you on board. Have you also been participating on some interoperability SIG meeting, or is this the first?
I have not. This is my first.
Yep. Great. Perfect. So have you had any experience on events in GitLab, either transmitting or receiving events?
In GitLab, I don't think so. There may have been various things that's tried at different parts of the company that I'm not aware of, but we have not. And internally, we talk about GitLab has lots of different features in different parts of the development cycle, and we want to, at least at the very minimum, make that easy to figure out just for our internal product teams. But obviously, interoperability beyond GitLab is also interesting. Yeah,
Hmm?
to be honest, I don't have a whole lot of experience other than what I read in the GitHub repo so far.
Okay, okay. Very well. Anyway, very welcome. Hope you enjoy staying.
Thanks.
So moving on then. Do we have any updates from the TOC or CDF in large, Cara or Oleg? Anything to share?
Not that I recall any new big news from the TOC side.
The software supply
Yeah.
chain, SIG, how is it progressing? Is it accepted now, or what's the status?
It got 5 binding votes. So unless there is anything negative, it will be officially approved tomorrow. I will send a message to the mailing list, but yeah, I wouldn't expect anything to go wrong here.
Another point regarding CDF, I've been trying to follow along. Recently, there has been a swarm of activity in the Slack from something I think is called CDF ambassadors or something like that. Is that something that the CD Events project needs to be aware of or involved in anyhow? Like, can we expect ambassadors to carry our voice outside as well, or what is the scope of those ambassadors?
I can give you an update on that. So Garima Bajpai took over as the chairperson of the ambassadors right around September, October of last year. There were over 200 members on that and not a lot of activity. So she basically asked everybody to reapply. I think that caused a lot of grief, but now she has about 40 individuals who are ambassadors. I am also an ambassador, so I've been pushing them and pushing Garima to give us the CDF meetups back. For whatever reason, my access was taken. I was asked to drop from being the CDF online meetup manager. So I did. So nobody owns that account now, and they're trying to move it over to Bevy. So it's sort of in a state of flux. Garima is going to be having a meeting, and she's got kind of 5 pillars that she wants the ambassadors to start working on. One is going to be the blogs. One's going to be the CDF online meetups. One's going to be, input to the podcasts. One is going to be helping with conferences like CDCon. So she's trying to pull that back together and get the 40 people that she now has more involved. So I will keep encouraging folks to those ambassadors who want to do any kind of outreach or blogging to start coming to these meetings. And I am also an ambassador, so I will I'll keep pinging them about it. And I'm hoping, I know, and Oleg has already volunteered to like host one of the first CDF online meetups. So I'm hoping that we get access to Bevy sooner than later, and they can bring all those people over that I worked so hard to build that group. There wasn't a whole lot. There was about 500, but that's a good start, right? So we'll see what happens. But since Tracy and Jackie left, I think that there's a few things that are sort of limping along right now, and those outreach topics are the ones kind of limping along. But
it's great to hear, Tracy, that you are already involved in that, and we already have a channel in that direction. So that's really good. Thanks. Yeah, I'm trying to, and I had a one-on-one with Chris Anisic last week, and I did reinforce what we had decided when we were all at the in Napa. All the board and people who came in to work on a strategy, everybody raised their hand and said CD events was one of the most important things that we could be working on. Everybody was in agreement, every board member, everyone. So I reinforced that with Chris, and I told Chris that I felt like in terms of the CDF in general, we needed what I kind of explained as marching orders. And I told them I thought that interoperability and the CD events was probably should be our primary marching order, and that we need to get more focus on it.
Yeah.
For the record, I also had a meeting with Chris on a few other topics, but we also discussed CD events, and I basically said the same as Tracy. For me, CD events is one of the key opportunities for the Continuous Delivery Foundation at the moment, and this is what we should push for, including maybe having a dedicated technical program manager to support this initiative. Because at least what is my observation about CDF in general, it has no technical program managers. And yeah, thanks a lot to Kara, to Tracy, and to everyone who assisted with particular initiatives here and there. But basically TOC and other groups would really benefit of having some full-time people helping with particular programs.
So we're hoping that they find a new general manager to replace Tracy, and then hopefully, I'm not sure if they're going to bring in a new ecosystem director, but when they do, and I did tell Chris that I felt that what could help is if the Linux Foundation saw CD events the way we do, and that they could help us get funding for it and get some of the other, do some outreach and help us build it in the community in general. And he was, he agreed too. He said I wasn't the first one who had told him that. So thank you, Oleg, for saying the same thing.
I guess all of us are in the same page in the CDF, because we really need to bring more people to the Continuous Delivery Foundation to make it sustainable. We have a lot of SIGs, a lot of activities, but really onboarding more people is what we need at this stage, especially member companies. So hopefully it will work.
Yes.
So can I just jump in on the Bevy point? Roxanne is kind of heading up the Bevy launch, and what she said is that CD events can be one of the first CDF chapters. I think I pinged you about this, Oleg. So this the webinar that's upcoming next month should be able to be done on the Bevy platform, and this is like one of the first that we'll be doing on that platform.
Yeah, so for us, the important part is before we do meet up on Bevy is to have some traction for Bevy. For example, sending announcements to CDF meetup group members, etc., that we are launching a chapter so that they subscribe and receive notifications about the events. So it would be nice if a preview is ready soon so that we can start appointing people, because Tracy is right that we need to move those 500 people and also 10-ish thousand of unique people who are in Jenkins meetups, etc. So we should facilitate migration to Bevy so that we can get traction for meetups there.
Okay, so you want that migration of all the meetup members onto the Bevy platform before we do the webinar for CD events?
Yes, so basically having a CDF chapter created and send announcements that we will be gradually moving from meetup.com to Bevy, because I believe this is a done deal.
Yeah.
I'm happy to support the same for Jenkins meetups. We still need to communicate it to the Jenkins community. But yeah, overall, we really need to have the subscribers, otherwise we won't get much participation.
Good. Okay. And Oleg, are you in contact with Roxanne at all? I did I link you up on the Slack?
Beyond the chat we have with you and Roxanne.
Yeah. Okay, I'll make a channel. That's fine. That's fine. I'll just put us in contact.
Yep.
Okay, looking forward then for that meetup and the Bevy platform.
Yep. So I'm ready to host it. We moved Captain Community to Bevy. The experience is pretty much okay. The only issue we experienced so far is that the resolution on Bevy is quite low. So if you share a widescreen, it basically becomes a crap when it comes to YouTube. So this is something we will need to figure out and provide some guidelines maybe, but otherwise the experience is really good.
Okay.
Yeah, and to finish with CDF ambassadors, etc., there is another initiative to be announced, CDF community builders. I'm not sure what it exactly. Garima will present it soon, I believe. But yeah, I'm one of community builders, so yeah, I'll keep you posted. Mm-hmm. Okay. I guess that's it from the 2C. And yeah, another reminder, we have 10K budget. Nobody has claimed it. So
yeah, we discussed that before you came in.
Yeah, I remember the videos.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that apart from videos, if you have some chunks of this budget, yeah, documentation project, etc., it's also something feasible for us.
Good. So, Kara, was it you who added the information about interoperability?
Yes.
You want to say
Yes.
something?
So sure. I mean, I put it in basically the notes. At our last meeting, Justin Abrams had the really interesting idea that we start a catalog of quality gates and how they're used by companies and teams in the wild. And the idea is that, you know, after we get a sense of what's being done, we can begin to formulate what would be really good practices, like how many quality gates are a minimum, a max, like too many, which are the really fundamental ones that, you know, platforms should have, internal platforms should have, or different teams should have. And just to get a better sense of the layout of what's done and what could be done and what is best. So there is a GitHub discussion that Justin has started. Please do jump on and give your experiences, what you see being done, what your teams are being done. And then this Thursday is our next interoperability SIG meeting. And Anders Ekner from Styra, who will join us, and he's going to join us for discussion on quality gates and how they see them being used. So it should be a good one. So join us.
Yeah. Just thinking about the term there, quality gates, is that something that was part of the terms and definitions from Marianne, or about these stages and steps?
You mean Anne-Marie?
Sorry?
Anne-Marie, yeah, you mean, right?
Yeah, sorry, yeah. I'm not sure if she used any other term for it, or if it was the same term, or if it must maybe not intended as a term.
I don't recall seeing the term quality gate there. I think she broke it down into smaller steps, I guess.
Okay, or she called it something else. I don't remember.
Yeah, the quality gate thing comes from Captain. That's what they call them.
I was thinking if we should like announce quality gates through events, through CD events, of course, then should we then call them quality gates or something else? That was just where I was heading.
So just to share some perspective from Captain community, we are not happy about this term. So it was introduced due to historical reasons, but even now how it's used in Captain is actually somewhat wider. So we have discussions how to change this term in Captain. So please do not adopt it right away. And if there are some recommendations from best practices, SIG, etc., I think it would be nice to know, because from interoperability, because it's something we would also join.
Great. Well, if you can, do join us this Thursday, and by all means give feedback on your thoughts around the term. It was just the term that we were just using in the discussion, and maybe it has outgrown its usefulness. Maybe there are better, more precise terms. So.
Yeah, right. So for me, the problem that it's something like triple booked for me this slot, but yeah.
Well, jump on the discussion on GitHub, you know, and yeah, throw your feedback out, and that would be really helpful. And maybe we can get you in at some point.
Yeah, great.
While I more or less have the floor, can I just also say, and I need to, I'll speak more with you about this, Andrea, but because you've been really helpful in helping to plan this. But at CDCon, we have a one-day event for CD, not CDCon, at KubeCon, a one-day event for CD events. So we can formulate it how we'd like, and we're just now confirming the room size. And it's an all-day event. So we do, as a group, need to think about the schedule. We need to think about who will be present, who will be involved. And
wait, Carl, this is at KubeCon?
yes, KubeCon Europe. So in May.
Oh, KubeCon Europe. That's like happening in May.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's pretty soon.
It's very soon. It'll be exciting.
So did you say CD Events, the project, will have a room? Or
yes, and it's a full day. I thought it was going to be, I thought we would only maybe have a half day, but in fact, we've been given a full day. So let's max it out.
Is it, do you know what
Andrea's like, oh no.
No, it's like
will it be before KubeCon or after KubeCon or during
Yeah,
KubeCon?
no, it was
I will get the exact date, but I don't know. I'll get the exact time.
Yeah, it would be nice.
Is from Monday to Friday, right?
Mm-hmm.
So is this then the Saturday or Sunday, or is it?
No. I don't think it's a weekend day.
No.
Do you have
so
a
it's
more
the week
precise
before,
day,
then, the week after? Sorry.
I'll come back with the exact day because the room bookings are being done, like literally being done now. And what I have actually thrown, the smallest room is 50. The next size up is 100. So we just need to get a sense of which one of those two we should confirm for. And then we need to start thinking about title of the event and some sort of description for it. And we need to think how we want to shape it. Do we want it a hands-on working day? Do we want to have more outreach talks, publicity? Like, how do we want to use this space? Wow.
Interesting.
Yeah, so it's going to be a packed KubeCon because App Delivery also considers having a day. We consider Captain Community Day, and yeah, there is a lot of overlapping topics between all these events. Yeah, probably it should have been 2 weeks.
It's a big conference.
But Kari, you said the smallest room was 50 people.
Yes. So the smallest room we would have would be 50, or we could have a 100-person room, but we just need to confirm. So
Kara, do you think we could craft up an email and send it out to all of our existing membership? Something that will encourage them to start thinking about what events are and make sure that, the problem with these, when we send out to our members is what I have learned is they don't always end up in the right hands. It might be, somebody might be out from an outreach side that gets it. Somebody might be who signed up. It's hard to find the right person to talk to. But what I would like to be able to message out to the members is that we are pursuing the CD events and it will have a full day and we'd like them to participate in the conversations.
And by members, do you mean, just so I can clarify, member companies of the CDF?
For companies.
Okay.
Yeah, member companies. So we're making sure that, Circle CI is being invited. JFrog knows about it. That, everybody who's out there, even the Aspen Mesh guys who recently joined. All of these have a potential to be impacted by what we could do, or actually their business can be improved by what we do. So it would be good to start getting them involved, and this might be one way to do that. That they could see if we can't get them in the room, even if they're presenting on topics that they say how they see CD events should look.
Yep.
Just to get the conversation really moving forward.
Yeah, no, that's a good idea. Okay, I'll have an email drafted up and maybe I'll ping you and just go it over and make sure that, just get your feedback on it and then we can send it out. And then Andrea, I'll stay in contact with you since you've been great to volunteer so far.
No, that's all right. Yeah, so thinking about what Tracy said, I think, maybe having some presentation. I mean, of course, we won't have like presentation by people who implemented city events yet, but it would be very interesting to see, presentation about people using events or what kind of pain points they have in their setup that could be solved by events and so forth.
I think our goal should be to see if we can start pulling in investment, or at least some committers from these companies to get involved in this project. That's really what how we need to kind of pivot is to, create a bigger, we need more people in the room.
Yeah, sure. I mean, more contributions would be great. And I think like use cases where we can apply city events also would very much help drive the spec in the right direction.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So use cases would be one thing to discuss on that day, I would say, in KubeCon as well.
And maybe that's what we call it.
Yeah, why not? Event use cases.
Yeah,
Or something,
event
yeah.
use cases, CD event use cases.
Mm-hmm. Why not?
I think that's a really good way to get the conversation started. And we definitely need to be, you know, keep the captain folks in the loop.
Let's just not call it city event.
Why not?
Yeah, so
was
for
event.
captain side, we actually have captain specification. Some of that has been somewhat discussed with CD events SIG before. But yeah, one of our items we have right now, let's say in the backlog, that captain events is actually wider than CD events. So for example, we have application lifecycle events, etc., which go beyond CI/CD. And there is open question what we do with them next. So whether we keep them captain specific or whether we invest in creating a new standard, etc. If the standard, whether it would be a part of the CDF or how it would work. So it's wide open, but if there is a deep discussion for the future of this eventing, it's something which would be nice to discuss. And it would be also nice.
Really... Yeah, sorry.
It would be also nice to have cloud events folks at the table if such wider strategy discussions happen.
That's a great idea.
I guess we haven't really set the fixed borders for what city events are, when they, what it was, I mean, how far away they can reach and what kind of events could be included in the city event spec either. Of course, we haven't discussed life cycle events too much, I guess. But
yeah, and also there is a problem with the scope bloat, because if you try to create one standard to rule them all, usually most likely it will be a problem, not a standard.
Yeah, so we need to limit it somehow. But I say that the limits are not really set.
Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, and I think for use cases, one of the use cases that we have in mind is like metrics for DevOps. And if you look at like DORA metrics, for instance, they get all the way down to like this kind of area, application lifecycle as well. So I think it might make sense. I mean, from my perspective, I would be happy to extend the existing buckets, but yeah, we need to have discussion on specific events and decide on nomenclature and see if there is any input that we can get from the interop SIG on the names there as well. So I mean, we can put it on the agenda for the CD event meeting, Oleg, if you want, or you can do it kind of asynchronously. If you want to start an item or an issue or discussion about this, we can have the conversation there.
I mean, application lifecycle.
Yes, for the events in general. That I mean, events from Captain that are not covered by CD events that you think would make sense to bring in.
So yeah, it would be nice. So my main problem right now is that I also don't have a particular path forward right now. I mean, we currently focus on Captain incubation, alignment with CNCF requirements, etc. So right now it's our main focus in terms of governance, etc. And I don't have bandwidth right now to focus on this topic in parallel. But I think that it should be better in a few weeks.
Yeah, sure. I mean, it doesn't have to be you. I mean, if the Captain community is interested in this in general, I think someone from the community could create an issue, and then we can get the discussion ongoing. That's
Okay. Yeah, it's in my backlog anyway. I will start the discussion once I have some at least proposal. Just for me, I rather agree with Emily that it's probably not in the scope for CD events per se. It still seems to be in scope for the continuous delivery foundation. So we can see how to approach it.
Great. Should we go on maybe?
Yep.
I think we should maybe have a dedicated discussion on this KubeCon room, or the SIG Events room in KubeCon later as well. So let's see what we will put in there when we know more about the details, when it will be and so on, who will participate.
Well, I mean, we know one full day with co-located with KubeCon, and it's just a question of do we want 50 or 100? And then, you know, the more information we can start giving the KubeCon events team about, you know, the title of our day and an abstract for it, the better, because they will start posting that information soon.
So should we do something about that before 2 weeks from now, or on the next SIG meeting? Should we try to do something? Should we create the ticket somewhere, an issue for it?
Yes. Okay, I'll create an issue. That sounds good.
And let's see if we can't get that email out to the members and see what kind of interest they would have in attending.
Okay, but we kind of need to shape it. We need to say like, this is the event, this is the, you know, but yes, I agreed. We will get that email out certainly within the next 2 weeks. But it would be nice to have a title for it. And just, so what are we thinking for the day that Andrea mentioned having some talks? Do we want to do
one more question for you though, Cara, is it, at KubeCon, is there anything else? Is there any other co-located events that the CDF is doing? Or is it just this one?
It is this one. This is the one.
So I think that's even more reason that we need to make sure all the members are aware that this is their event so I would say right now, if we could have a room for 100, we should push for the room for 100.
Okay, that's totally doable. I think that's good call too. And then we just need to decide, do we want to do half-day working, half-day talks, or do we, how would you? Just a sense. And then we can start shaping the email, because we can tell people this is what's happening. Please join in. Here's our, you know, talk schedule or whatnot.
Great. So the mail is coming out soon. Great.
Yeah. Should I create I'll create the issue today on our repo, and then we can, okay, thank you.
Yeah. So now let's try to move on. Best practices, anyone has any updates from them? I haven't been there lately. No. From the vocabulary work stream, I believe we discussed some details in the protocol last time, quite a lot. I don't know if we need to rehash any of that discussion, but please come there next week if you're interested. And if you wasn't there, if you went there last time, you can look into the minutes from last meeting. And I think to mention from that meeting, Andrea or Matthias or maybe Eric, who was there. Nothing comes to mind.
No, I created a first PR to start implementing some of the changes we discussed. And I think once that's merged, I have another few PRs to follow up on that. So hopefully if we move quick enough on those, on the initial PR, we can get a few more merged before the next meeting.
Yeah, you can maybe add them here, Andrea, in the end to the PR section here in the agenda as well, so people are aware what PRs to focus on.
Yeah, sure.
Great. Moving on then, SIG Events project setup. The Bootstrap governance to-do list. We have some things. We've already discussed the PR document. The contribution process, Andrea, we didn't have time to talk about this last SIG meeting. I think you added it.
just a question there. As Trace is here, should we bring up the PR document again?
Sure, we could. You mean on?
Yeah, just a question there. So we don't something falls into the chair. Tracy, you started with writing this. Was there any intention for you to continue this, or do you want help? Or
I think I wrote it as far as I could get, and I was hoping for help. I started writing that quite some time ago, right?
Yeah. And we have added quite a few comments. There are discussions in the document on comments in it. So
yeah, so I think that hopefully that we can get the press release out based on these comments. I'm not sure, Cara, is there something more that we need to do with this?
we talked about the quotes. There's still like a lot of quotes.
And there's quotes, and then I actually filled out all of their the regular kind of questions that they ask. I completed all of that as much as I could.
And there are some comments on what you wrote there, Tracy. So I don't know if you just would like to look into those comments, and then we can continue discussing as well, if you're able to.
Okay.
Otherwise, we help out all of us, of course. I can do my part as well.
Well, my point would be, if you want to make changes, go for it. I don't have any ownership of this. I just was trying to get a starting point.
Yeah. Oh, that's perfect. So everyone then, update and keep the discussion going in the comments, and then let's close some comments as well and then sort them out.
Okay. I'll take a look at it.
Matthias, anything else there, Matthias, or do you think we can continue?
yeah, I just wanted to check so there's nothing falls between the chairs there. If Tracy was intending to run it, but then we know we can make changes as we want then, but see so the comments get answered also. Good.
I guess
thank you.
We'll come back to it in 2 weeks, and I hope that we have come a bit further and see if we can conclude it on the SIG meeting in 2 weeks maybe. So let's try to sort out the comments here and finish them.
I'll take a look at those comments and try to make changes based on them. But if anybody has something they want to add, please don't feel like you're stepping on my toes. You're not. Or change. I have no investment beyond my initial contribution.
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks for starting it, Tracy.
Oh, no problem. And I'll look at those comments and do what I can to clean them up.
Good. So the contribution process, Andrea, did you want to drive this point or?
Sure, I can. So I added this because we have a bootstrap governance for the SIG Events project, and there are a few items that we need to produce as a bootstrap governance. And I think the first one, and probably the most important one to have in the beginning, would be the contribution process. Yeah, so that's just something that needs to be done, and we need a volunteer to draft it. Yeah, just wanted to know if anyone wanted to work on this. If not, I can also draft a proposal, and we can then discuss it next time.
Do we have any good examples from other projects that we could steal by Pride?
Yeah, I was going to have a look at.
I guess Tekton has quite a bit of them.
Tekton as my source of inspiration for some of these things. I mean, it's probably not going to be. Tekton is more complex. Several projects, different groups, and so forth. Whether this would be, I mean, the spec and the SDKs, and so. But I think the first I would focus on the contribution process for the spec, and well, and the spec and the SDK are the two most urgent ones. And yeah, but I can draft it for the two projects, unless someone wants to volunteer to do it.
Is anyone else willing to spend some time on this? So Andreas doesn't need to do everything.
Or Andreas.
Yeah, I'm happy to do the initial draft or the initial proposal, and then I would ask for reviews for the other members of the governance, at least.
Yeah. So we should all help out reviewing and contributing. We should contribute to the contribution process. Yeah, good. So I'll add that. Where is it? Is it the project charter, Andrea, you will also do? Or?
Well, until next meeting, I would work on the contribution process, and then we can see. I mean, if someone wants to take ownership of the charter today, that's great. Otherwise, we can discuss it next time. But I think I would like to. I mean, we have some descriptions of what we want to do, and the mission of the project, also the SIG. But I would like to have a contribution process document that we can put on the SIG Events.dev website, on the GitHub homepage, and in the repo, so that we
had some kind of charter in the SIG, didn't we? We should probably discontinue that one if we move it here, or if we add it here. And that's, I guess, a general comment that we should discontinue the old documents and link to the new ones. We might still have something back in the SIG in drop repo as well from the workstream. Old days. We have some cleanup to do there, I guess. Okay, good. Maybe last point for today might be the review of the 0.1 project setup. So what lacks for the 0.1 spec version?
Yeah, right. So I started creating some issues. I guess there are some broad kind of issues, and I wanted to ask folks to what they see that they're missing. I think I already see one, like we said. Well, maybe not for 0.1. Sorry, I was thinking SDK Python, but that's not necessarily for 0.1. So what do we want to put as a requirement for having a first release, a 0.1 version?
Should the SDKs be part of this project or this release? Should they go hand in hand? And we should have. I was thinking if we should have a Python SDK or a .NET SDK at the same time.
I would be fine with just having the Go SDK for the 0.1 version, and we can add more SDKs as we go along, just to not block everything for the first release, so to say.
Or they don't need to be connected that hard either. I mean, we could have the 0.1 version out before even the Golang SDK is there, maybe. I don't know.
Sure.
Of course, it helps.
Isn't it more logical that actually have a defined spec before you build the SDK on it? Or am I thinking wrong?
I guess in some extent, or to some extent, it's a little bit of a chicken and an egg problem. It's good to have an SDK while you're building the spec to make sure that the spec actually works. But of course, they don't have to be connected in that sense.
Yeah, I agree with Eric. I think we should kind of do them in parallel, because I think we'll learn from both sides.
We should probably do them in parallel, but I guess we should have maybe a different versioning of them. I mean, the Golang SDK could be 0.2, even though the CD event spec is still 0.1, for example. So they don't need to be hand in hand in lifecycle in the versioning.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah, definitely. That wasn't the intention. I didn't mean to imply that this would be release 0.1 of the SDK. So that's, but yeah, I thought it would be good to, when we go out with the first release, to have an SDK. So if,
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
And from the Ortilia side, we are starting to work with some cloud events. I'll know more later this week and probably next week about where we stand with that. So we'll be able to bring that perspective into the use cases and into the bindings as well.
Sounds good.
Good.
Yeah, so the key use cases are here. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, basically my idea was to kind of have a first version of the primer document where we have key use cases and kind of overall overview of what we want to do with CD events. Define the schemas for the events that we have today, with the body and with, mandatory and optional fields and so forth, and define the cloud events binding document, expand the existing spec documents. Like I've started working on the root one to add more details. I would like to have, like, we have examples for each field, what type of field it is, and maybe having some example of valid values to expand a little bit on the semantic of the fields so that it's more clear when you go implement it, what you're supposed to have in each field. And then having the SDK. So that was my idea of a scope for 0.1. I mean, that doesn't mean we cannot work on anything else in parallel. Of course, we can work on adding more fields. We can work on building POCs and so forth, which we will. But yeah, I was thinking this would be what we need to do before we can do a 0.1 spec.
Should we include some example events as well? Some JSON blobs for example events in the spec itself?
Yes. Yes. I don't have a dedicated item for that, but that's something that maybe I can either call it out on some of the existing issue or create a separate issue for that. But definitely we need to have examples. I
think it might make it easier to understand the structure of the events if you have proper examples. So.
I have a PR up with examples. When I get to time, I was intending to put it as, thank you, Oleg, for the idea of putting it in like collapsible boxes. But if you want to start there, you can of course deal those examples.
Thanks, Matthias. Yeah, I think the examples PR that you made, yeah, I mean, we can format it further if you want. One thing that, because it's specific to how we would represent events on top of cloud events, I think it might go into the cloud events binding document. But yeah,
Do you know if there would be something like a Swagger or open API we could use to define the events for people to kind of, like when with Swagger and like you could use Postman and a couple of those things to kind of try out? Is something like that available for cloud events?
We wanted to define schemas of some kind. I mean, probably JSON schema, but it could be Open API or some other specification for the body of the events. So because there are two parts, there are the headers, and then the body, and the headers are HTTP headers. So you can really specify them through JSON schema. But yeah, it might be, I don't know if with OpenAPI you can include headers as well. I can
Right. I was just thinking if there's some way to leverage some of the existing ways to view these structures.
Right.
Swagger Hub currently provides support for JSON APIs because many of REST APIs are based on JSON anyway underneath. So it would be possible to include it there for visualization too. But I agree with Andrea that the JSON schema would be one of the first entry points.
Great. Okay.
I don't know if it matches the what we're looking for, but there is something called a sync API that's based on OpenAPI. If you're interested, I can post a link to it in the in Slack.
Yeah, sure. I think you shared it already.
I think we have brought it up in some early discussion, so there might be some link already. Oh, that's good. Yeah, so we'll provide the schema files, right? Oh, I see we're out of time. Sorry. Time flows quickly. So we have reached the end of the hour. I think we had good discussions today. And please, all of us, let's help out, contribute to everything that happens in the repo as well. I'm grateful, Andrea, that you have made a lot of pull requests, and we should all try to be more involved. So thanks for today, and see you soon.
Yeah, thanks everyone. Bye-bye.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.